I'm Johnny Carter, and on February 6th, 1968, my first night at Camp Inari slammed into me like a punch I didn't see coming. B-52s growling low in the distance, their bombs thudding through the dark, shaking the red dirt under my sagging cot until I felt it in my teeth. I lay there, eyes pinned open, my olive-drab fatigue still stiff with Pleiku's dust from yesterday, my M14 a cold, heavy anchor beside me, its barrel glinting faintly under the tent's flickering bulb. The canvas flapped soft in the night breeze, stars winking through the slits like they were sizing me up, and I could smell it, diesel, damp earth, a sour whiff of fear I couldn't shake. Just 24 hours ago, I'd stepped off that Su-131, the heat slapping my face, choppers thumping overhead, my boots sinking into Vietnam's red haze, and now here I was, 20 years old, a grunt fresh off the plane, listening to war's heartbeat miles away and wondering if mine would keep up. Tommy's snores rattled 3 feet to my right. Eddie's pencil scratched 5 feet left, and every boom hit me like a question I didn't want to answer. Johnny, you think you'll live through this? Dusk had settled over Camp Inari by the time I'd unpacked on February 5th, the sun dipping below the green hills, painting the tent's gold before fading to a bruised purple. Now, February 6th crept in, and I was still figuring out this place. Our tent, 15 by 20 feet of olive canvas, sagged under its own weight, 6 cots jammed inside, springs rusted and creaking like they'd seen too many grunts before me. I kicked off my boots, the red dirt floor cool under my socks, dust flaking off in clumps from yesterday's ride, and sat down, my cot groaning as I shifted. My duffel sprawled open beside me, canteen clanking against a spare mag, socks tumbling out, Mom's letter folded tight in a side pocket, and I ran my fingers over my M14 stock, its walnut grain worn smooth from Fort Dix, warm now from my grip. Tommy flopped onto his cot, 3 feet right, his red hair sticking out wild under his M1 helmet, freckles popping against his pale skin in the dim light of that 40-watt bulb swinging overhead. Hell of a first day. Huh. Carter, he said, grinning, digging a lucky strike from his pocket. The pack crumpled, and striking a match that flared bright, sulfur biting my nose. I nodded, forcing a grin back. Yeah, beach shoveling snow, though my stomach churned. Ohio's winters felt a million miles from this heat-soaked hell. Eddie sat cross-legged 5 feet left, his small frame hunched over that brown leather notebook, 5 by 3 inches, edges frayed, glasses glinting as his pencil scratched fast across the page. Philly's quieter in this, he muttered, voice soft, and I wondered what he was drawing. Home, maybe the cobblestone streets he'd told me about, or this base swallowing us whole. Big Mike stretched out across from me, 6'3" of solid Texas, gray eyes half shut. Least it ain't raining yet, he grunted, folding his big hands behind his head, his silver ring catching the light. The tent stank, sweat soaked into the canvas, a stale tang of sea rations, a whiff of mildew from the damp dirt floor. And I pulled out my ration tin, beans and franks again, the metal cold against my palm. I pried it open with my P38, the little opener snagging, and ate slow, spoon scraping, the taste gluey, nothing like Mom's cooking. Back home, she'd be frying chicken right now, the kitchen warm with grease, merry and sneaking a drumstick, giggling as Dad swatted her hand, the radio crackling some old tune. I could smell it, crisp skin, buttery potatoes, the faint sweetness of her apple pie cooling on the counter, and my chest tightened. Here it was just us, Tommy puffing smoke that curled up to the canvas, Eddie scribbling like it kept him sane, Big Mike chewing loud on his own tin, and the bass humming outside, choppers thumping faint, soldiers barking orders through the dusk. I wiped my mouth with my sleeve, the red dust smearing, and leaned back, caught springs digging into my spine. My dog tags clinked, warm from my skin, and I pulled Mom's letter out, holding it under the bulb's weak glow. Stay safe, Johnny, she'd written, her cursive looping neat, and I saw her. Apron dusted with flour, hair pinned back, standing by the stove, Dad's pipe smoke drifting from the porch. I hadn't written since Fort Dix, and now Vietnam felt too loud, too raw, to fit into words. Tommy glanced over. She send pie with that, he teased, smoke trailing, and I smirked. Not this time, though the thought stung. Home was slipping through my fingers, and I didn't know how to hold it. Eddie looked up. My sister sent cookies once. Oatmeal, he said quiet, and Big Mike snorted. Better end this crap. We laughed, a rough, quick sound, clinging to those threads, Ohio, Philly, Texas, while Pleiku's heat faded into night, the air heavy with diesel, and something darker, something waiting. Outside, the base buzzed low, floodlights flickering on, casting long shadows across the tents, the generator humming steady half a mile off. I stood, stretching, my back popping, and grabbed my M14, slinging it over my shoulder. "Gonna step out," I said, and Tommy nodded. "Don't get lost, flicking ash." I pushed the tent flap, the canvas rough against my hand, and stepped into the dusk, the red dirt cool under my boots, a faint breeze carrying jungle dampness. The sky was bruising purple, stars just started to prick through, and I stood there, breathing it in. Vietnam, real and close, not a drill anymore. Night dropped fast, the base settling into a rhythm. Floodlights buzzing 10 feet high, their yellow glow painting the red dirt, bugs whining at my neck, slapping my skin as I walked the perimeter. My M14 hung heavy, its strap digging into my shoulder, and I kicked the dirt, dust puffing up, thinking of Ohio, Marion racing me across the fields, her bare feet kicking gray dust, the air cool and clean. This was different, red, sharp, sticking to my socks, and I shook my head trying to clear it. Tommy caught up, cigarette, glowing red. "Can't sit still, huh?" he said, and I shrugged. Too much noise, though it was quiet now, just the generator's hum and faint chopper thumps 500 yards off. We walked past tents, their canvas glowing soft from lanterns inside. Soldiers laughing over a radio. Some tune I didn't catch, static snapping through. And I saw a guy step out, 25 maybe, jaw scarred, eyes hard under a faded cap. "First night, kid?" he asked, voice gravelly, lighting a Camel. And I nodded, feeling small. "Sleep light. Bombs'll wake ya," he said, exhaling smoke, and walked off, his M16 swinging loose. Tommy chuckled, real charmer, blowing his own smoke, but my gut twisted bombs. At Fort Dix, Hayes had us chuck grenades, their bangs sharp in my ears, but this was bigger, heavier, and I wasn't ready. We kept moving, the base sprawling into the dark, sandbags and barbed wire fading, the hills black shapes against the sky, and I wondered what was out there. Jungle, Viet Song, death maybe. Back in the tent, I dropped onto my cot, the springs squeaking, and slung my M14 beside me, its barrel cool against my hand. Tommy lit another cigarette, the glow lighting his freckles. "Night, Carter," he mumbled, rolling over, the butt smoldering on the dirt. Eddie kept scratching in his notebook, glasses fogged. "Keeps me calm," he said when I glanced over, and I nodded. Glad he had something. My comm was gone, lost somewhere between Pleiku's airstrip and here. Big Mike snored already, a deep rumble, his big frame spilling over his cot, and I lay back, staring at the canvas, the bulb dimming, stars winking through slits like they were mocking me. The bass quieted, choppers silent, voices hushed, and I closed my eyes, the day's heat lingering in my bones, Pleiku's dust thick in my lungs. Ohio, a faint whisper I couldn't hold. Then it hit, a low thud, far off, rolling slow like thunder over the hills. My eyes snapped open, heart slamming against my ribs, and I sat up, cot creaking loud in the dark. Another thud, deeper, vibrating the dirt under me, and I knew. B-52s, dropping their loads miles away, maybe 10, maybe 20, but close enough to feel. Tommy stirred. "What the hell's that?" he mumbled, voice thick with sleep, and I whispered, "Bombs," my throat dry. Eddie stopped writing, glasses glinting in the starlight. "They're far," he said, but his pencil trembled, and I saw it. Fear, same as mine. Big Mike grunted, "Sleep, damn it," and rolled over, but I couldn't. Each boom punched my chest, a rhythm I couldn't shake, and I lay there, stiff, listening, picturing the explosions, fire tearing the jungle, and wondering who was dying out there, if it'd be me soon. The sounds kept coming irregular, 5 minutes apart, then 3, then a long stretch of nothing that made my ears strain. I gripped my M14, it would slick with sweat, and stared up, the canvas rippling in the breeze, stars cold and distant. Back home, thunder was safe, rain pattering the roof, Dad's voice rumbling over coffee, Mary and tugging my arm to watch the lightning. This wasn't that. This was war, raw and real, and I felt it a weight pressing down, telling me I wasn't in Ohio anymore. The boom stretched past midnight. Unpredictable. 10 minutes silent, then 3 hard thuds that shook the cot, my hands clammy on my M14. The tent dark now, the bulb burned out, just starlight seeping through. Tommy snored again, a soft rasp. Eddie's pencil scratched faint. Big Mike's breaths rumbled deep, but sleep wouldn't come. Those B-52s were war's pulse, and it beat through me, relentless. I sat up quiet, pulling my knees in, dog tags cold against my chest, my fatigues reeking of sweat and Pleiku's dust, red grit still caked under my nails. I rubbed my hands, calluses rough from Fort Dix, grenade drills, Hayes barking faster, Carter, or you're dead. And now I wondered if he'd known, if he'd seen nights like this in his eyes. The Scar guy's word stuck, sleep light, and I pictured him out there, boots in the mud, dodging bullets, not bombs, his M16 spitting fire. Was that worse? Or was this, lying here, helpless, waiting for the next boom, not knowing if it had creeped closer? A chopper buzzed low, its thump slicing the silence, and I flinched, hand tightening on my M14, heart racing like it had burst. It passed, red light blinking through the canvas, and I exhaled, shaky, the booms picking up, 4 in a row, hard, rattling the dirt, and I felt it in my spine. Eddie whispered, "They're louder," his voice thin, and I nodded, though I couldn't tell. Miles offshore, but too close for sleep. Tommy groaned. "Shut up, both ya." Rolling over, and I smirked, his grumble a lifeline in the dark, something normal when nothing else was. I lay back, staring up, the canvas swaying, and asked it quiet in my head, "Will I make it out of this?" No answer, just another boom, fainter now, rolling away, and I gripped Mom's letter, its paper soft under my thumb, crease from yesterday's ride. I saw her, standing by the mailbox, waiting for my scrawl, her hands wringing her apron, and my throat burned. I wanted to write, tell her I was okay, that the bombs were far, that I'd tasted her pie in my head while eating rations, but the words stuck. How do you tell your mom you're scared of sounds you can't see? Back home, I climbed the oak by the creek, merry and daring me higher, the wind safe and cool, but here every gust carried war, and I wasn't climbing, I was sinking. The boom slowed, gaps stretching, 15 minutes, 20, and I tried to breathe slow, counting the stars through the slits, 6, 7, 8, like they'd tell me something. They didn't, just stared back cold, and I thought of Dad, his pipe glowing on the porch, saying you're tougher in, you think. Johnny, after I'd fallen from that oak, scrapped my knee bloody. Was I? Fort Dix had hardened my hands, my legs, but this, bombs in the night, a war I couldn't touch yet. It was hollowing me out, and I didn't know how to fight it. The B-52s faded after 2, maybe 3, leaving a silence that pressed heavier than the noise, the tent thick with breath, Tommy's snores, Eddie's rustles, Big Mike's deep rumbles. I didn't sleep. Not really. Dozed, my hand on my M14, dreams slipping to Ohio, Marion's laugh by the creek, then jerking back to that low growl, bombs I couldn't shake. Dawn crept in slow, gray light seeping through the canvas, the air cool, damp, smelling of jungle rot and fuel. I sat up, cot creaking, my fatigue stiff with sweat, red dust streaking my sleeves, and rubbed my eyes, gritty from no rest, my head heavy like I'd run all night. Tommy stirred. "Mornin', hero," he mumbled, fishing a lucky strike from his pocket, the match flaring sharp in the half-dark. Eddie packed his notebook, glasses fogged. "Barely slept," he said, voice low, and I nodded, same, my throat rough. Big Mike stretched, bones popping loud. "Y'all fuss too damn much," he said, but his gray eyes flicked to the tent flap, like he'd felt those booms too. We dug into rations, crackers, peanut butter, cold coffee from my canteen, its metal dented from the truck ride. The taste dull, but it woke me, grounded me, the bass stirring outside, choppers spinning up slow, voices barking sharp through the mist. I stood, grabbing my M14, and pushed the flap, stepping out, the red dirt wet under my boots, mist hanging low over the tents, curling around sandbags and wire. The hills stood green and sharp 2 miles off, their edges cutting the gray sky, and I breathed it in, cool, thick, a mix of mud and oil. Tommy joined me, smoke curling from a cigarette. "Think we'll see those bombs up close?" he asked, half joking, and I shrugged. "Hope not, though my gut said we would. Bombs, bullets, something waiting." Eddie stepped out, quiet, adjusting his glasses, and Big Mike loomed behind. "Keep moving, Carter," he said, his voice a low shove, and I nodded, starting down the path, the day stretching ahead, heavy with what I couldn't name yet. The base woke fast, soldiers hauling crates, jeeps rumbling, a Huey lifting off 300 yards away, its blades chopping the mist, downdraft blasting my face. I watched it climb, olive green against the gray, and thought of yesterday, the Su-131, Pleiku's heat, that truck ride rattling my bones. Now it was bombs, real war sounds, and I felt it. Vietnam sinking its teeth in, pulling me from Ohio's fields, Mom's kitchen, Marion's teasing. I kicked the dirt, wet clumps sticking, and saw her, pedaling her bike down her lane, dust gray and soft, calling me slow. Here, the dust was red, mean, and I wasn't racing. I was waiting for what I didn't know. So that was February 6th, 1968, my first night at Camp Inari, wide awake as B-52s growled through the dark, their booms shaking the dirt under me, asking if I'd make it through this war I'd stumbled into. Yesterday's heat and dust from Pleiku still stuck to my fatigues, the tent a flimsy wall against Vietnam's howl, Tommy snoring through it, Eddie scratching his fears into that notebook, Big Mike steady as stone, and me, 20 scared stiff, gripping my M14 like it could talk back. Those bombs were miles off, 10, 20, who knows, but they felt close, close enough to rattle my bones, to make me wonder who was under them, if I'd be next. I didn't sleep, not really, just lay there counting booms, counting stars, counting the ways I wasn't ready for this. The night stretched me thin, from dusk's quiet to dawn's mist, and I stepped out into February 6th with Pleiku's red dust still under my nails. Ohio, fading like a song I couldn't hum anymore. Those B-52s were just the start. War's hello, a taste of what was coming, and I felt it creeping closer day by day. 6 days from then, February 12th, 1968, I'd be out there, my first patrol, boots sinking into jungle mud, my M14 hot in my hands, and the world would explode, bullets ripping through the green, me firing back blind, not even seeing the enemy, just shadows and noise. That's what's waiting, my first real fight, and I didn't know it yet. Lying in that tent, the bombs fading, my heart still racing. Want to know how I faced that ambush, how I pulled the trigger with no target in sight, how it changed me before I'd even unpacked my soul. Stay with me, subscribe, and let's walk that jungle path together, one shaky step at a time.